Time to start the new year off right. We are taking this whole beef tenderloin and we're throwing it on the Weber Kettle, making some amazing grilled beef tenderloin. Let's go. We have this beautiful hunk of meat. We got about 4.5 pounds here. We're gonna open it up, take a look at what we have packaged here. Obviously, I haven't looked inside yet. Go ahead and pat this dry some here. Gonna check to see if it needs any trimming. It really doesn't look like it needs any trimming here. This is actually looking really nice. Now you can see they already tied this up because this is one piece, but there's a thick end and a thin end. So they flip it in half, tied up, so it'll cook more as a whole roast. When you slice it, it may come apart, probably will, but we're gonna cook it just like this all together. And this was labeled as a whole tenderloin roast, so that's how we're gonna cook it. All as one big roast. Again, you can see where the folding happens here, but when we cook it, we're gonna try to make this as uniform of a piece as possible so it cooks nice and evenly and it all gets done at the same time. Now this is gonna be a 24, 26 hour project because we're gonna salt brine this and throw it in the fridge for 24 hours. If you could get it to 24 hours, great, because what that's gonna do is the salt's gonna penetrate in, pull some of that moisture out, and as it does it, it's really gonna season this well, and it's gonna lend to a really great crust at the end. Let's give this a quick seasoning with some kosher salt, and we're gonna hit this pretty liberally with it. It's a big hunk of meat again, and we're gonna hit everywhere we can. Get all the sides. This is all salted up. Let's go throw it in the refrigerator and we will be back in about 24 hours to get the grill going. It is 24 hours later and we now have our salt brined beef tenderloin looking great. Now, I did not trim any of this because it looked really good, but if you notice right here, I see a band that looks like silver skin on here. Now this is all tied up already, but I can't in good faith leave that silver skin on here. So I'm gonna untie this, trim off any silver skin that's on here because eating it would be like chewing on shoe leather. You won't be able to get through it. So we wanna get that off of there. I'm not a fan of tying and untying, but the little extra steps that need to be done to make sure that things come out the way you want it, this is one of those steps. Hopefully this doesn't fall into 15 pieces. Again, right here, we got that bit of silver skin. You just wanna get under it. Kind of lift and follow it if you can. Yeah, see, this thing is super strong. It would never come apart chewing it, so you'd end up spinning it out and looking like a fool. So let's just go ahead, clean the rest of this up. Now this is just gonna be a little bit of fat here, but we're gonna try to take that off too. See how deep that silver skin runs? All this else is looking pretty good. I see a little bit of fat in here, but not enough to worry. You really want to worry about that silver skin. Okay, silver skin is taken care of. Now it's time to tie this back up so we could have it again in that uniform shape. So get your butcher's twine. Now I'm very simplistic with this. I'm not a knot aficionado. I'm just gonna cut 4 straps of string off here. And we're gonna make some simple knots to keep this together. Two loops, nice and tight. Gonna do 2 loops again. Snip it off. Gonna do this all the way around. Now this ends the fun end because this is where it all comes together. Now essentially we're gonna take our final piece of string, get this kind of wrapped up and tucked under. So it's gonna be relatively the same size as the rest of the roast. There we have it. We have our trimmed up, tied up, salt brined beef tenderloin ready to get seasoned. Now, as far as seasoning on this, we've already salted it. Put a lot of salt on here. All that salt has made its way into the tenderloin, so we're not gonna salt it again. But what I am gonna do, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of oil and then put some pepper on it. That's gonna be our only seasoning on this before it goes on the grill. And I'm only adding this oil so I can get a little moisture on the surface so that pepper will stick. Now we're gonna hit it generously with pepper. That's all the seasoning we are going to do. We're gonna let this rest for a second as we get that Weber Kettle fired up. Let's go over there, get it fired up. Let's go show you how we do the grill. So I'm using a slow and sear, and I have Jealous Devil lump charcoal across here. I have a couple wax cubes, starter cubes, that we're gonna fire up. Now, I usually, when I'm going to low and slow cook, I'll start on one end and let it burn across. I'm starting this in the middle today because I think this is going to be a shorter cook. So we're starting in the middle and it's going to burn this way and this way at the same time. So by the time this reaches its internal temperature that we're shooting for, all this will be lit and we'll be able to give it a good reverse sear at the end. So this is fired up. We're going to let this come up to temp, let those wax cubes burn off and a nice bit of ashed up coals in the middle. Then we'll get this on the grill when it's nice and hot. We're going to be shooting for a low and slow cook here, so I'm hoping to keep it under 300, hopefully between 250, 275. I didn't put a lot of coals in here. And then at the end, we're gonna reverse sear it. Grill's reading at about 225 right now. That charcoal is ashed over nicely. We got a nice little fire going in the center of that, and we wanted to let that go as small for as long as possible. So we're gonna get this tenderloin on right now. Just gonna put it right in the center here, indirect heat, away from the fire, close her up. About halfway open on the vent. I'm gonna set a timer for 20 minutes and I'm gonna come back and rotate it every 20 minutes to try to ensure even cooking on this piece of beef. So we'll be back in about 20 minutes when it's time to rotate. Timer's going off, 20 minutes. Let's go give this a flip. That's it, and we're gonna come back in another 20 minutes and then we'll check for temp. I noticed that that charcoal isn't rocking hot or anything, so this is going nice and slow, which is really gonna ensure an overall even cook. Let's just keep rocking, 20 minutes at a time. We'll be back. Last timer's going off. We did 20 minutes, and 10 minutes, so it's been 50 minutes, 50 so far. Let's go check the temperature one more time before we sear it. Now that it's getting close, last temp was up in that 115, 110, 115 range. This may be around that 120 where we want to pull it and sear it, so we could pull it off around 130. Let's go check. Yeah, right around the 128. See, we might have gone a little too high right now, but we're still gonna sear this real quick, right over the heat. Since we're at about 126 internal already, I'm not gonna do a crazy sear on this. We're gonna do maybe 30 seconds aside, and then we're gonna pull it off and let it rest. That already gave some really nice color on there. Right at 30, flip again. Another 30. We're gonna pull it right off. This is all seared off, looking great. We're gonna grab a piece of foil, put this in there and lightly temp it up, and we're gonna let it rest for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. Let those juices redistribute, let that carryover cook happen, and then we're gonna slice it up. We'll be back when it's time to slice and taste. I can't wait. Not too tight, just a loose tent. Let's go let this rest. This has been resting exactly 10 minutes in this foil wrap here. I have been temping it. Temperatures are anywhere between 130 and 135, depending where we're at inside here. So it's time to pull this out, slice it up, and try it. First thing, I'm gonna snip some strings here. There's one, right in the middle. Take this other middle one out because I'm gonna slice it right from the middle. All right, let's give this a whirl, see how we did. Oh yeah. That's just looking perfect. Nice and pink wall to wall, juicy as can be. All right, now that we know that we got that color we want, we're gonna slice this maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. Oh man, this looks fantastic. Bite through tender. And if you remember, we didn't put any salt on it, but it's got a great salt flavor. The only salt we did was that 24-hour salt brine. Doesn't need anything else. The pepper comes through big, get that great grilled smoked flavor. Oh man. Definitely a home run for your holiday cooks. If you like what we did there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, check me out on social media, and we'll be talking to you all soon. Thanks again, everybody. Happy holidays. Take care. Peace.